So, today we're going to go through a silent tier list to go through all the cards and see which ones are worth picking up on Ascension 20 and which ones are kind of a bit garbage. Let's get started with the old classic, 1000 Cuts. So with 1000 Cuts, it's okay. It does kind of rely on you playing lots of cards, if that's Shiv Synergy or if that's drawing and discarding cards with backpacks and things like that. It deals area of effect damage. I mean, it's okay, it's not amazing, so I'm going to try and start off by putting that in the... I'm debating whether to put it in B tier or A tier. Tell you what, let's put it in A tier for now, but if we need to move it down we can put it in B. Now, next thing on the list we're going to look at is accuracy. Way too situational in my opinion. Accuracy is worth picking one up if you've already got some ways to get shivs, but if you don't have any shiv synergy, it's literally just dead weight. It's a curse. So with that in mind, I think the best thing we can do is put it somewhere like high C, just because of its situationalness. I mean, it works well in decks. If you've already got good cards, it makes those cards better. But if it's by itself, it's not worth picking up. Next thing is acrobatics. I'd say that's S tier. I mean, for a common card, it's one of the best commons you can pick up. So with acrobatics, draw 3 cards, discard 1 card. Now the discard is an advantage, it's not a disadvantage. You can discard curses, you can discard specific things to trigger tincture, for example. It's worth having 1 or 2 in a deck. Whether it's... I think the main drawback is it doesn't actively change the battlefield. It doesn't deal damage or add defense. But as a utility card, it's one of the best in the game. So for that, it's an S tier. So the next thing on the list is... Adrenaline. That's another S tier card. I mean, what's not to love about it? You gain energy, draw cards, it exhausts, so you're not reliant on it. And even with an upgrade, it makes it better. So yeah, that... It's definitely an S tier, but it's better than acrobatics. Is Adrenaline the best card? It's probably in the top 3, but I don't know if it's the best card you get as silent. So next up on the list we have After Image. Whenever you play a card you gain 1 block. So you play this for 1 energy and then you have to play 5 other cards just to get a defense for free. I think with the upgrades, it's really not worth it. If you're looking for a deck where you're trying to pare down the amount of cards you have in the base deck, and you're going to be playing a lot of shivs, a lot of cards, then it can be good, just because it is a power. You're not reliant on playing it again and again, but for rare cards, it's mediocre. I'd put it in A, but I don't know whether it's better or worse than 1000 Cuts. That's the... Yeah, below 1000 Cuts. It's good, but it's not great. Now, next card we are looking at is Alchemize. Alchemize is more powerful at lower ascendancies, but if you go to Ascension 20, it's... I'd put it in a low A tier. I mean, if anything, I'd want to try and move After Image down to B. But let me just bring Alchemize up here. Yeah, obtain a random potion for 1 and it exhausts, so if you upgrade it, you are getting it for 0, which is good. But is it worth building a deck around? Potentially, if you've got some relics that synergize with it, but I'd say it's one of the better rare cards, but it's not something you get excited about when you pick one up. So we'll put it here. We'll put After Image down to B for now. Now the next thing we are going to look at is All Out Attack. Deals 10 damage to all enemies, discard 1 card at random. Even if you upgrade it, it's dealing a good chunk of damage, but I think discarding a random card is such a massive drawback. It's good if you can kind of narrow down which cards you discard. If you're discarding like an attack, basic attack, or basic defend, it's good, but the randomness just puts it down. Tier 1, it's good solid damage. Tier 3, it kind of... it's just okay. I think if you compare it to other cards in other decks, for example, Awakened Darkness, you're paying 2 for dealing the same, but you gain an advantage instead of disadvantage. Do you know, for the sake of how good it is in the first act, I think we can put All Out Attack in a low A. Because it is good, but it's not great. So, next up we've got is Backstab, I believe. Backflip. So gain 2 cards and 5 block. The upgrade, I believe, is just 7. Yeah, 8 block. So card draw is good. It's better with the synergies. As basic cards go, I'd pick 1 up, but I wouldn't be crying if I had to cut it out the deck. So, where should we put Backflip? I think it's a solid B tier. Now, where to put it in the B tier, that's the question. Where's Backflip on the tier list? Anyway, we'll put it in when we get to it. Don't worry too much about it. Next card we're going to look at is Backstab. An A is a disadvantage. If you're playing and you want to deal the best damage and get the best cards in your hand in the first turn, Backstab deals good single target damage, but you want to be building up your poison, you want to be building up your shivs. You don't want to be just dealing 11 damage and then piecing out. It's an Akabeko on a strike, when you think about it like that. We'll give it a low B. Shall we? Yeah, low B tier. So next up is, by the looks of it, Bane. Bane is good in poison decks, obviously, but is it good by itself? It's better than a Shiv. It's better. No, it's not better than a Shiv card, but it deals more damage than a basic strike. It's contextual. It can make a good poison deck better because it deals direct damage, and that does help in certain situations, like when you're trying to chip down armor and that sort of thing. If you've already got poison, I'd pick it in Act 1. I wouldn't pick it in Act 2 or 3, but by the time you get to the end of Act 1, you want to have all your main damage dealers there. So, with that in mind, let's put Bane... It's above Backstab. In fact, after him, she just keeps getting worse and worse, now that I see it. We've got another S tier coming up. It's Blade Dance. Now, for the majority of the game's life, Blade Dance was add 2 shivs into your hand. And then it got buffed in one of the later patches, and then the buff was making it from one of the most mediocre cards to the best card you get. It's one of the best commons in the game. It's better than Acrobatics, I would say, because it triggers and synergizes with so many other abilities and other relics as well. But yeah, upgraded Shiv, it makes great card even better. I mean, if you're dealing 4 damage with each Shiv, 4 times 4 is what, 16? For 1 mana? And you've got potential synergy with other cards? Yeah. What's not to love about it? Blade Dance, there you go. So the next card we're looking at is Blur. Now, for an uncommon card, Blur is remarkably common. I think when you're trying to build up defense in a silent deck, you want ways to work around the dexterity, and you're looking for ways to enter Wrath. And Blur just gives you basic block, but it helps you not remove it at the end of turn. So it's a good setup card, but I find a lot of the cards that impact the next turn with Silent aren't that good. So with that in mind, it does have its places, it does have its niches. I'd give it a B tier. Now where do we put it in the Bs? Blur or Backstab? Yeah, I'd take it over a Backstab, but I would take a Bane over a Blur if I needed it. So, next card we're looking at is Bouncing Flask. It used to be one of my favourite cards, but then I started doing the maths, and it's like, you're dealing 9 poison damage against a single target fight, it's great, but when you have multiple target fights, and you're going to be having a lot of them, it's just okay. All poison cards exacerbate each other, they help each other out. If you've got one Bouncing Flask in your deck, I would say it's worth it, but I wouldn't get multiple Bouncing Flasks. I mean, you're paying 2 mana to deal a potential 12 damage, and then what's that? It adds up over time, but it's 2 mana, it's not an attack, it doesn't do any defense. So with the attack, it doesn't synergize with things like Akabeko, or it doesn't synergize with Necronomicon. But yeah, it's still a strong card. I'd say it's A, but we'll figure out whereabouts in the A tier we'll put it. So how about below Alchemize, above Thousand Cuts? That looks like a good position for it. Good solid pick. So what are we looking at next? We've got Bullet Time. Now, if you end up picking this up at the end of Act 1, and you've already got lots of 2-cost cards, expensive cards, then it can be good. But reducing the amount of card draw, or eliminating the card draw, it kind of locks you in. So, for 3 mana, your turn is, you're going to play all your cards, but you're not going to draw anything else. So, depends on what you've got to synergize with it. If you've got lots of card draw in your deck already, it lessens the impact of Bullet Time. When you upgrade it, I believe it downgrades to 2, which I don't see what the difference is. If you've got mana to spend and you spend it before Bullet Time, then you might be drawn into it, but it pairs up well with Acrobatics, but only when Bullet Time's upgraded. But as a rare, I wouldn't say it's high up. It's not. You can build your deck around it, but we'll give it a low A tier for now. Now, next one we're going to look at is Burst. Synergizes with Bouncing Flask, synergizes with most of the Shiv cards. It's good, but it's not great. It pains me to say it because on paper it's a fantastic card, but if you've got 4 mana, you've got a chance to play it, but if you're only working with 3 mana in Act 2, then I don't know if you'd be able to best utilize its strengths. But it's still a solid low A tier. Do you know what? I don't know if I'd pick it above Bullet Time or not. I think, yeah. Let's put it above All Out Attack as well. So, next card we're looking at here is going to be Calculated Gamble. Upgraded, doesn't exhaust. Unupgraded, exhausts. It can be a really good utility card if it exhausts, because you're not reliant too much on using it again and again. Synergizes with Tincture, synergizes with lots of card draw and card discard and mechanics. Definitely worth picking one up. I pick it up Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. It all depends on what else you've got in the deck. But Calculated Gamble is a great card. So with that in mind, I suggest we put it in... Why don't we put it in a mid-A tier? I'd say it's higher than 1,000 Cuts. Yeah. Like for an uncommon card, I'd definitely pick one up. So let's look at the next card we've got on the deck here. Caltrops. Whenever your attack, deal 3 damage back or 5 damage when upgraded. It can help a lot with Hexaghost. It can help a lot with Book of Stabbing or enemies that deal multiple hits, but I think as powers go, you've got better options with the Silent. It's good, but it's not something you build the deck around. Say a solid B, a high B tier. Yeah, it works well with Blur if you've got more cards, like Caltrops, Blur, and something like a Deflect is great. So next up on the list we've got Catalyst. It is Poison, Act 1, if you pardon the pun. Act 1, you don't have enough poison damage to justify picking up a Catalyst, unless you've got like a couple of cards already in your deck. If you don't have any poison and you pick it up just because it's powerful, it is going to get you killed. It's a crux. But that said, it doubles stuff. Mathematics, you can't fight against the maths. Doubles enemy poison, and when you upgrade it, it triples it. So if you're going to triple someone's poison, that's how you can beat the heart. It's how you can beat end of game bosses. So with all of that said, I'm put it in a high A. Looking at the tiers, actually, it's better than Alchemy. But I don't know if I'd pick Bouncing Flask over Alchemize. This is a lot harder than I first thought. So let's go to the next card. We are looking at Choke. It's okay. Deals damage, costs 2, which is a disadvantage. Relies on you playing more extra cards, so it has good synergy with things like your Shivs, with your calculated gambles, that sort of thing. But would I get excited to pick one? Not really. It's just an okay 2-cost damage card. I mean, if it dealt less damage, cost 1, and still had the cards play trigger, then I'd put it higher up, but as it goes, I'd say it's between Backstab and Caltrops. So the next one, which this is going to be a little bit controversial, but Cloak and Dagger, unupgraded, is just okay. It's not worth picking up. Upgraded, great. Especially when you already built a Shivs deck. Adding 2 Shivs to your hand, if you can gain a little bit of block, trigger 2 effects, and it works well with like things like Kunai or Shuriken. We'll put it in A tier, but I'm just debating, is it high A or low A? Is it situational A? A lot of A's here. Let's put it above Burst for now, and we'll see how we feel about it later on. Now, strangely enough, the next one is, I believe, Concentrate. Now, as far as I remember, Concentrate used to be a rare card, and it was downgraded to uncommon. But you discard X amount of cards and you gain 2 for 0. If you've got lots of card draw, it helps you play more cards, but there's a good chance if you've drawn a lot of cards, it might be Shivs and they're 0 cost already. So Concentrate, its niche, it has its places, but I wouldn't pick one up Act 1. Maybe if I've already got synergies, I might pick it up Act 2, and I wouldn't pick it up Act 3. So, overall, it's not very impressive. Is it worth putting down in C tier? Yeah, I'd say so. And just looking at that, I'm tempted to move Backstab down and Accuracy up, but Accuracy is too situational. Don't think about it too much. What we should think about is fixing that camera. And we're back. So, Concentrate, bit of a trap card. Let's put it in the C tier and move on to the next one, which I do believe is quite a good card. Yeah, Corpse Explosion. I'd pick it in a poison deck. I'd pick it if it wasn't in a poison deck. Either deals 6 poison or upgraded deals 9 poison. Main thing is when an enemy dies, deals damage equal to its max hit point to all enemies. So this thing can save runs, especially with a lot of the random encounters you get on Act 3. If you just take out one person with like 30 hit points, it's going to wipe the whole board out. So yeah, definitely pick up Corpse Explosion. Even if it's not a poison deck, it's still got its uses. So with that in mind, let's see how high up we can put it. Corpse Explosion is S tier? Yeah, I'd say it is S tier. I'd put it in S tier. I mean, who's going to fight me about it? You guys in the comments? Nah. So Crippling Cloud next is good. Deals damage to all enemies, weak all enemies, but it's not something I'd pick up as a majorly good defensive card in Act 2 or 3. No, I'd pick it up Act 1, I'd pick it up Act 2, depending on the type of deck I've got. But I wouldn't be going out my way to get a Crippling Cloud. I'd say it's in the A tier, but I'm not sure where we should put it in the A tier yet. So how about we put it up? It's definitely above 1,000 cuts, below Calculated Gamble. Yeah. So we already covered Backflip way back when, so put that in a high B. That's better than Bullet Time, so yeah, low A. Dagger Spray for a common card. It is a really good common card. Act 1, this thing can take you through the boss. Deals 6 damage to all enemies twice when upgraded. You're dealing 8 damage or 12 damage to everybody. So Slime Boss gets decimated by this, for example. It's worth picking up Act 1. Diminishing Returns. Act 2, it still helps you out, but Act 3, it's just going to be a useless card unless you got Envenom already in play. So, Dagger Spray, where do we put it? It's A tier, definitely A. Above 1,000 cuts, below... above Crippling Cloud, actually, yeah. So the next thing we're looking at is Dagger Throw. Again, a great solid pick for Act 1. Deal 9 damage, draw 1 card, discard 1 card. When it's upgraded, it does 12 damage, which is still quite good, but the main thing is it deals damage in the first act. Fantastic. Later acts, it cycles through cards, so that does have an advantage as well. So pick up a single Dagger Throw. If you pick up 2, then you want to get rid of all your strikes. And that makes for a good deck, but is it good enough to crack S tier, or is it just A tier? So where would we put it in A tier if we were going to put it in there? If we could find it on the board. Here we go, Dagger Throw. Yeah, it's above Dagger Spray. It's just got so much utility and potential. Definitely pick one up. So next on the list we got Dash. 2 attack. Sorry, gain 10 block, deal 10 damage, but it costs 2 mana. This is a really good defensive card, and because it's classed as attack, it negates a couple of tougher fights you're going to get. So, yeah, I'd put a solid contender in A tier. I'm not sure if... I'd say high A. When you could pick one up Act 1, Act 2, and it's going to carry you through the whole thing. I don't know if I'd pick one up Act 3. If I had some 2 cost card synergies, then maybe, but for now, there's a lot of A tier cards, I would say. See, there's a big gap between Calculated Gamble and then everything underneath it, so if anything, I'm going to move Calculated Gamble up to A tier. Just because I can. The more I look at Calculated Gamble, the better it gets. So the next card we've got is Deadly Poison. It's a solid card. How else would you describe it? Deals 7 poison upgraded, 5 poison regular. If you get 1 or 2 of these in your deck, it can help you win tougher boss battles. I wouldn't pick more than 2 in a deck. I'd pick it in a poison deck, but I wouldn't... Do you know what? Yeah, I'd pick it up in Act 3. it up in Act 2 as well. I'm not going to deny that. Deadly Poison. So the archetype. So, where would you put it in the tier list though? So I feel like the A tier is still pretty stacked, so how about this for a compromise? We'll put it here, but we'll move bullet time down to the top of B tier. Because it's good, but it's not character defining good. So let's move on to the next one. Defense. Yeah, fantastic card. It's great, guys. No, all joking aside, get the strikes out your deck first and then try and get defense if you've got alternative cards to use as defense. So with that in mind, I think I've got a separate list. How about we add a row below just for basic. Then we can put the defend in there. While we're at it, we can put one of the attack cards in as well, the basic strike, if I can find it. Don't worry too much. Okay, next card on the list is Deflect, I think. Deflect, yeah. It's defense for 0 cost. Let's look at that upgrade. 7 block. 0 cost on a deck that draws lots of cards. It's actually a lot better than people first seeing it. Worth picking up one in a draw deck, but I'd say it's a high B. Yeah, definitely worth a high B in my books. Is it top of B? Yeah, definitely. I'd say it's better than Backflip. I'd say I prefer to take one over Burst, just because it's more utility and Burst is more specialized. So next one, die. Deals okay damage, deals that to all enemies, exhausts. Exhausting itself is probably the best thing about it. Might pick it up at the end of Act 1 if I don't have enough damage in the deck, but I wouldn't pick one up Act 2 or Act 3 and be excited about it. It might just be something you pick up because you need to deal extra damage and you don't have it in your deck to begin with. It's better than Choke. A lot of things are better than Choke. So, we'll leave that in there for now. Distraction. Add a random skill in your hand. It costs 0 this turn, exhaust. That is your first D tier. Can't deny it. Doing random things is just... it's too random. Next one we're looking at is Dodge and Roll. Now, gain 4 block, next turn gain 4 block. Even if it's upgraded, it's still just okay. This whole do something in the next turn, it's a good idea. The cards used in this game don't make it powerful enough because it can either be completely broken or it can be underpowered. There's no in between. So with that in mind, we'll put that high C tier of accuracy. Next one we've got Doppelganger. Again, it helps you out next turn. X is kind of cute for the mana cost, but if you've got a couple of mana left over, it can help you, but I'd rather have a different rare card in my deck, if given the option. It's not a C tier, but it's quite low down on the Bs, I would say. So the next thing we've got on the list is Endless Agony. Good damage first act, afterwards it just pollutes the deck, so if you're desperate for damage in the first act before you get to the boss, pick one up. There's no harm in taking it out of the deck in Act 2 or Act 3. Unless you've got specific things about dealing damage for 0 cost cards, then let's put it in above Choke, B tier. So the next one we've got here is Envenom. A really good utility card, works well with poison decks, obviously. but I don't know whether... I mean, reduces cost doesn't upgrade the damage or have a bigger effect on the field. And it is unblocked damage, that's the other thing. You can't just slap some avocado on this and expect you to win the game. Same with that floating ball thing. So with that in mind, let's put Venom in B tier. It's good, it's got its niche uses, but generally just okay, just good. Next one is Escape Plan. If you're building you're building a draw deck, a zero cost deck, or something in between, then Escape Plan is always a solid choice. It's a good workhorse card. It's not going to win you any battles, but it's going to have an impact over a longer period of time. So, with that in mind, I say we put that in a... How does high B sound? Above Blur. In fact, I think I've rated Blur a bit too high. Yeah, we'll put it above Choke. This is tough. Yeah, we'll leave it there. I think that's where it deserves to go. Eviscerate, next one. Costs 1 less mana for each card discarded this turn. I mean, it deals sort of 9, 18, 27 damage for potentially 1 mana if you've already discarded cards, but if you've not discarded, it's expensive for just an okay card. If you don't have the synergy, it's not worth picking up. So with that in mind, I'm going to put that at a C tier. Above Concentrate. I'm tempted to put Concentrate down in D tier, to be fair. Because it's only got super niche uses. Next one, Expertise. Draw 6 cards. Draw cards until you've got 6 cards in your hand. Or 7. If it was 0 mana, it would be great. The fact you're paying just to draw the extra cards, in reality, you're only going to be drawing like 1 or 2 cards with it, and there are better single cost cards like Backflip that do the same thing. On a 0 cost deck, it does work, but outside of that, it's just okay. I wouldn't pick it independently. So let's put it in C tier. I mean, card draw is traditionally good, but it's just not amazing compared to the other card draw options you've got for Silent. Finisher next. Finisher's a tough one. It's kind of a love-hate relationship because it goes well with Shivs. It can deal massive damage if it's sorted out properly, but a lot of the time you're trying to play 2 strikes in a finisher and you're dealing a little bit extra damage, but it's not anything to write home about. For example, if you're given Finisher or Dagger Strike, which one would you choose? You might go for Dagger Strike instead of Finisher. So, we'll put Finisher at a high C. No, it's above Doppelganger, I'd say. Let's move Doppelganger down to the C tier. Yeah. If anything, it makes Backstab look even worse. Excuse me, got animals floating around here. So, next up after Finisher, we've got Fletchettes, Poor Man's Finisher. It can deal good damage if you're trying to wear down armor, but nah, it's not worth picking up. So with that in mind, I'm going to give it a high C. So next up we have Flying Knee. For a common card, it's okay, it deals good damage. Getting an extra bit of mana is one of the better things you can do for next turn. Just because it does deal damage and is a little bit extra. The damage is the key focus here. So, Flying Knee. Would you pick it Act 1? Definitely. Would you pick it Act 2? Maybe. Act 3? No. Better things to pick in Act 3. You've already specialised your deck into a better niche, so... Let's move choke down to C. And let's keep flying knee in B. So, what have we got next? Footwork. Gain 2 dexterity. Great. Gain 3 dexterity. Even better. If you don't have a way to get into Wrath or Wraith, then Footwork's your best defense card. It's up there with Leg Sweep, I would say. And possibly Dash. Like, they're the 3 main cards for defense outside of the obvious S tier one. So with that in mind, let's give it a high A. I think it's deserving of that honor. Anything, I want to move Catalyst down because it's such a swing. I'll put it next to Deadly Poison just because it feels appropriate. Next up, Glass Knife. Okay damage. Decreases damage, so it's not that good. I mean, upgraded, you're dealing 24 damage for 1 life, and you're attacking twice, so that's good for bearing down on armor or birds or things like that. But 9 times out of 10, if I'm given that option at the end of Act 1, probably going to take something else. Let's put it above Backstab. So what have we got next? Grand Finale. It's so niche. It's not worth it. I've tried and tried and tried to make this work, but it just doesn't. You've got to have so many specific sets of circumstances to set it up. And at the end of the day, you're only dealing, what, 50 damage? Which in Act 3 isn't as much as you think. I'll put it in D. It's meme tier. So after Grand Finale, we've got Heel Hook. I don't know if Heel Hook's good or not. It's definitely a controversial card. I mean, you have to set it up with something with weak, but it is like a free card, free damage, so why not just play a 0 cost card that deals 5 damage? So let's bump this down a little bit. So Heel Hook, seeing it's a high C, yeah, this Backstab's just not, I'm just not feeling it. Just not feeling Backstab. It's giving me the, it's just giving me dirty looks. Okay, Infinite Blades. Good. There are better shiv cards in the deck. Helps with synergies. It's like a standard 4 damage a turn. So if you upgrade it, it's just an 8. There's no way to upgrade the shivs specifically. I mean, if you've got a power card that's going to deal you 4 damage every turn, on par with Caltrops when you think about it. So definitely better than Caltrops, but would you put it in A tier? If you've got accuracy, then potentially, but nah, generally speaking, no. So after Infinite Blades, we've got Leg Sweep, one of the better defense cards. So, apply 2 weak, gain 2 block, it costs 2 mana, it's not a problem. That pretty much sets you up for the full turn, so that's an A card if ever I saw one. Put an extra dash just because it is the 2 costs big card you want to pick up. Malaise. Here we've got another S tier, guys. For things like Hexaghost, it just shuts it down. Like, how can you come back from that? If you get Chemical X, it's kind of breaking the game a little bit, if I'm being honest with you. Check that upgrade out. You could play it for 0, and you could still gain 1, apply 1 weak, and enemy loses 1 strength. So, we don't have to talk about it too much, just because it is that good. So, Malaise. Put it below Adrenaline for A tier, or S tier. Next up, Masterful Stab. Deals 12 damage, is good in Act 1, loses its value as you go forward. unless you found a way to, like, prevent all damage, then I wouldn't get excited about picking it up. But it's just a solid damage dealer. Let's put it at the end of B. Next up we have Neutralize. Base card. Upgraded. It's actually something you would still play at the end of the game. I mean, 0 cost, so it's quite good. Deals 2 weak. Unupgraded. Helps get you through Act 1. Helps prevent damage. With that in mind, where would we put it on the tier list? That's the question. For a basic card, that's like a high B. Or low A. Yeah, I'd put it above Backflip. You rarely get a chance to buy a second one, but there are options there. Nightmare. So expensive, but it's got so powerful. It's the same issue with Ironclad's demon form and the echo thing from the defect. I mean, it costs 3 mana, Diva form is the other one, but if you're paying 3 mana, that's pretty much your whole turn. If you haven't got a mana upgrade at the end of Act 1, then Nightmare's a trap, but if you do, then potentially you can play Nightmare, defend, and then the next turn you've got 3 something. And most times, if you've got 3 powers, that's just like a good way to win a game. Above 1,000 stabs. Yeah, I'd say that's good there. Good solid mid A tier. Noxious Fumes. Upgraded, one of my favourite cards. Unupgraded, still really good. With Poison, because it's ticking down damage every turn, the fact you can just reverse it and kind of make the damage go up is great. It does build up over time, so you do need to combine it with lots of ways to defend yourself, but yeah, I'd pick 2 up. I'm not gonna lie, it's that good. So, Noxious Fumes, A tier, above Dagger Throw, below those 2. Do you know what I'm gonna do? Let's move those 2 poison together. I think that's about right. Next up, Outmaneuver. Next turn, gain 2 or gain 3 mana. It's okay, it's not great. Works well if you've already got acrobatics on the go, but it's not really that impressive, let's be honest here. So Outmaneuver, C tier. Better than most C tier cards, to be honest, but we'll put it above Choke. So next card we've got Phantasmal Killer. Next turn, you do something. Next turn. Is it doing damage this turn? Is it going to help you save a life this turn? No. I'd say that's probably a C tier. It's a waste of a rare slot. Can work if you, like, build your deck around it. Maybe I'm being too harsh on it. Maybe Phantasmal Killer deserves a B tier. If he did it that turn, it would probably be S tier, but yeah, you've got to play the hand you dealt. Piercing Whale, another S tier. So, do I need to explain why it's S tier? That's going to save your life. Pick it up Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. You could pick it up even before you face the heart. So, Piercing Whale will save you a turn, especially if it's multi-attack turns. By the heart. So, let's not dwell too much on it. Just try and play a game without one, and then try and play a game with one. You'll notice the difference. Next up we have Poison Stab. Deals good damage. I'd pick one up Act 1, but Act 2, Act 3, it's not worth picking up. Don't really need to say too much about it. You're dealing extra damage, you're dealing extra poison. But it is just another way of playing a basic attack. I want to give it a B, high B. If it was uncommon, it would be lower, but just because it was common, pick one up. You can't go wrong if you don't have any good attack cards in the first act. Pick up a poison stab and you'll enjoy it. Now, next card we have is Predator. Another 2-cost card, and it feels like Silent has got a lot of 2-cost cards that are like quite good. It's dealing a chunk of damage. The next 10 things just a bonus. But deal 20 damage for 2 mana. That's pretty good in anyone's book. So let's get it up quite high. Yeah, above Dagger Throw, but before Noxious Fumes. I'm sorry about that, cursor's bugging me. Ah, okay. Don't think too much about it. Next card we're looking at is Prepared. Basic Prepared? I wouldn't pick it up. Upgraded Prepared? I definitely would pick it up. Draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. It just gets better over time. So if you pick it up and upgrade it in the next campfire, or you just pick an upgraded one, then it's going to do nothing but help your deck. So with that in mind, let's give it an A tier. Above 1,000 Cuts, below Nightmare. And the next card is Quick Slash. Deals 8 damage, draws a card, has an immediate effect on the battlefield. Upgraded is 12, which is still quite strong. It kind of already fills the hole that you've got there for Dagger Throw, so I don't know. Is Dagger Throw better? Yeah, because it's got additional effects. So with that in mind, Quick Slash, do we put it next to Dagger Throw? No, I'd say it's a lower tier than that. It's better than Backflip. So, next card. Reflex. Used to be a rare, downgraded to uncommon. Is it good? Only in the discard deck. What are the chances of having a discard deck? Quite slim if you've got the option of discard or other better cards. So you've got to keep it in mind. It's just okay at best. It can be broken if played in the right deck, but generally it's not D tier because it does have its niche uses. So the next one we have is Riddle with Holes. Now your first thought is 2 mana for something that deals damage 5 times on a poison deck with Envenom is great. Works well with strength synergies. For 2 mana you could put 2 Shiv cards in instead, so it's okay Act 1 near the end. It's okay Act 2, but Act 3 it's not so good. Unless you've got something that specifically synergizes with it, then it's just good, it's not great. Riddle with Holes. Low A. Above Backflip. Oh no, we've lost a spot. Setup. I'd say it's a meme card. If we can put it down in basic, then yeah. But yeah, D for doo-doo water. Not worth picking up at all. Skewer. Can be good. Not great. Deal 10 damage upgraded. It's okay. If you've got extra mana floating around, then it can work, but on a 3-cost mana deck, I wouldn't be excited picking this up. So, I still think we should give it its respect where it's deserved. We'll put it in A tier. I mean, it is a solid damage dealer, it's just not an amazing damage dealer. Compared to Whirlwind as well, the Ironclad's got, it kind of just looks a bit lackluster. But it has carried you through a few fights. So, Slice, 0 cost, deals 9 damage. Come on, that's good value for money. when it's upgraded. Even if it's not upgraded, it's a zero cost card, which for Slice, I'm debating whether to put it in low A tier or high B tier. It is one of these things where I just feel like we're filling up A and B and nothing else is gonna really get in there. Yeah, Slice will give it an A. Next to Neutralize, put the two zero cost card buddies together. Sneaky Strike. If you've got discards, apart from the basic deck discard, it's okay. 16 damage. It's just got too many qualifiers to make it a good card. So, kind of running out of space here. Oh, go back up, go back up. Sneaky Strike. Put it a low B. That's where it deserves to be. Low B tier. Next one, we've got Storm of Steel. It looks better on paper than it actually is. It's just okay at the best of times. So Storm of Steel, we're going to put you at a high B. Is it better than these cards? No, not really. Better than these cards? Not really. I'd say it's a low B, yeah. Next up, Strike. What can I say about this card? It is one of the cards of all time. Don't waste too much time on that. Basic. Next one is Sucker Punch. Now, it's not that good basic when it's upgraded. The 2 weak is a lot better, but if you're trying to deal weak, then you want it on a defensive card like Leg Sweep. You don't want it on an attack card that deals, what, 9 damage, 7 damage? It's not bad, but it just doesn't inspire, you know? So we'll get Sucker Punch and we'll give it it's a solid C tier. I'd pick it above, yeah. I'd say it's king of the C tier, actually. There you go. Survivor. Great first card to get. Deal 11 block when upgraded. If you don't have anything specific to upgrade when you hit the first campfire, I'd say definitely upgrade that. It's, for a base card, it's low A. Do you know what? We'll put it next to Neutralize. Just, I think the 2 base cards you get outside of attack and defense are really good. So yeah, we've put it up in next to here. I think that's where it deserves to go. Next up, Tactician. If you discard it, gain some mana. Is one of those cards better than the other? I don't know. They both require you to do something very specific with it to trigger it. I mean, I wouldn't say it's D tier, but it's not really fantastic. Let's put it C tier. Terra. Terra's been on a bit of a roller coaster with me. At first I liked it, then I didn't like it, then I liked it again with shivs, and then... How would I put this? It makes good decks better, but by itself it's just okay. In a poison deck, it's bordering on curse. So we'll put it in the C tier, but we'll put it above Backstab just because. Just because. Excuse me. So next up we've got Tools of the Trade. Is it an S tier? Possibly. At the start of your turn, draw 1 card and discard 1 card. When you upgrade it, costs 0. So there's no real power upgrade there, apart from it being cheaper. I'd definitely pick Tools of the Trade up Act 1. I'd consider picking it up Act 2 as well. How about we move the screen up a little bit, and we take Tools of the Trade, And do we put it... Don't know. Yeah, you put it above footwork. It helps cycle through your deck, gives you discard ability, gives you draw ability. It's just got so many good things going for it. It's definitely high A tier. So next card we're looking at is Unload. Now there's a Fall from Grace. Discarding a load of cards to deal 14 damage. No. Just not feeling it. Not liking this one bit. It does good damage, but at the cost of what? Discarding your old hand, or making sure it's the last card you play? It's C tier, but it's... technically it's good. But the fact that it's a rare card is kinda... you wish you had better rare cards. So let's leave it there for now. I don't think we're going to change it. I mean, 18 damage on an upgrade, but still, it's just okay. Next up we've got Well-Laid Plans. This is a card you pick up. This is a power you want in pretty much every deck. The ability to retain cards, things like Nightmare, things like Corpse Explosion, things like Malaise, Adrenaline, all these things you want to hold off. If you hold off and keep your Piercing Wheel for the next turn, if you've got an idea of what the enemy's going to do to you, then that could save your whole game. So I'd say, where are we going to put it in A tier? And find A tier. Here we go. Above 1,000 cuts, above these basics. Yeah, I'd say above there as well. It's just behind Footwork. Like, there's some really powerful cards. Best power in the game, Wraith Form. It does have a downside, which it kind of stops you from playing it at the beginning of a match, but even when you upgrade it, 3 intangible, that's 3 free turns you've got there. No questions asked. So if you can't set something up in 3 turns, then your deck needs to be reset. So the question we have is not, is Wraith Form good? The question is it better than the rest of the cards? So I'd pick it over a Malaise. I wouldn't pick it over Adrenaline. I still think Adrenaline's a top pick here. So there you have it. That is the full deck list. What do you guys think? Leave a comment, and if you like this video, there's some other tier list videos. You can check them out. I might link them somewhere up here. Who knows? But if you've stuck around this long, thanks, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.